I hope you guys can kind of read between the lines and see where I'm going with this. It's mainly for the good of the community, but is it 100% altruistic? Does it have any elements of self-serving? Yeah, a little bit. I'll be honest, it's got a little bit of that. Infiniti FX50. This one here is a 2009 model year. It's got about 207,000 miles on the odometer, and I can only account for about 2,000 of that, being that the vehicle is a pretty recent acquisition to me. Despite the mileage, and maybe because of the mileage, it is quickly becoming one of my favorite Infinitis to date. I say that having owned and operated quite a lot of Nissan and Infiniti products over the years. But if I were being honest, I think not just an Infiniti limit. I think having driven quite a lot of vehicles over the years, this one is quickly becoming one of my favorite vehicles, period. It's a pleasure to drive. But why are we here today? The reason I'm here today is I'd like to market something. I'm advertising something that hopefully has some gain to somebody. It doesn't have any direct monetary gain to myself. And the reason is I'm advertising a Facebook group like we've done in the past. I decided that let's create an Infiniti FX50 group. Yes, not just FX, FX50 specifically. And it's not just a forum, it's not just a discussion. Although that is open, the intention of the group right now is that it's going to be a buy-sell group, buy-sell trade. And that's why we have it. Why? Let me think of it. I think now that I'm saying that, I believe, don't hold me to it, but I think the name I have currently is it's for sale, FX50 and QX80 V8. I think that's what the group name is, but maybe I'll try to take a picture and take a screenshot and show it in the video. This is going to be a vlog, so I don't really know where it's going to go. We're just going to do things, and hopefully the video makes sense by the end of it all. So why do we need a special group for the FX50? One answer, it's unique. It's a special vehicle. I'm talking about Rarity. You don't see too many FXs on the road. Of the FXs you see, well, most of them are going to be first gens. A fraction of them are going to be second gens. But either way, whichever generation, most of those few cars that you see, few FXs that you see, are going to be V6s. So you'll see a lot of FX35s, very few FX37s, and QX70 3.7 basically. So the V8 is pretty rare, and even among the V8s, there's different levels of rarity. There's, FX50, FX50S, which is a sport, FX50 Sport with tech, QX70. In 2014, when Infiniti went away from their very sensible nomenclature, and then at that point, the M's became Q70s, the FXs became QX70s. So in 2014, which was the last year that the FX was offered, the V8 FX was offered in the US, at least in North America, we had a QX70 V8. So 1 year only. That's a rare vehicle. And again, QX70, QX70S, QX70S with tech. I'm just spitballing in no particular order. I think in a different video in the future, we'll go and kind of break down what the hierarchy of the pecking order of FXs is. But for now, just wanted to kind of introduce you guys to this. And I think in a future video, I'll be unpacking why I decided to buy a vehicle with over 200,000 miles. I do acknowledge that some people look at vehicles with 100,000 miles as high mileage. I know some people that once a car hits 100,000, if they own it, they try to get rid of it. If they're in the market, they do not look at anything with over 100,000. Think of the German car owners who try to get rid of vehicles at like 95,000 or something like that, So there are a few things to it, So, and once you hear this, you might understand why I chose to get this vehicle no matter what. Yep, so 2073. You know what? Let's jump back outside and I'll explain a few things. Let's listen to it. Can you hear it? You'll get to hear it. Don't worry about it. Let's pop the hood. So, obviously, I've mentioned the FXs. I've said they're rare. We're in 2021 right now, and right now the crossover shape is kind of common. A lot of vehicles have copied that. Back in they came in 2003. This is a second gen, so 2009. But like back then, nothing else on the road looked like these things. They're pretty rare, you know. But as I said, there are a lot of layers of rarity with this vehicle, and my fan modules are crazy. But I wanted to show you guys this engine right here that you can't really tell much about. It's a 5.0 liter V8, and that engine is unique even to Nissan and Infiniti circles because it's not used by any other production vehicle. So that is why FXs are special. And as I said, at some point we'll talk about it, and I'll explain why mileage did not matter to me. Or at least mileage was not the major determining factor in me getting this vehicle. Getting the vehicle was more important than anything else at that time. So we'll get to that. We'll talk about that at some point in the near future. And let's get back to the group though. So the group has been alive for, let's do a drive. I don't want to just sit here just looking at the vehicle running. So the group has been live for about 1 month or so, and in this time I really did not advertise or get the word out there because I was curious if the group could grow organically, and it did. I think I got a few people who were very interested in FXs who stumbled upon the group and requested to join, and I let them in. But then I have to give props and kind of give credit where it's due. There's a gentleman called Carlos, and Carlos is when it comes to searching for Infiniti FX50s, this is the man. He's searched for everything. I think over the past 6 or so months, he's seen if anything was for sale, he's seen it. If he hasn't, and he got to own it for a little while. Anyway, I digress. Carlos put the word out there. I reached, he got to hear about the group, and he put the word out there on the bigger FX50, or rather the FX group, that we have a group out here that's catered towards FX50s for sale, and he liked the idea. He thought it was pretty good, and so he put the word out there, and the growth has been exponential. So as I said, big thanks to Carlos putting the word out there. Obviously my intention with the group, nothing selfish out of it. It's meant to benefit the community of Infiniti FX50 lovers, sellers, owners, buyers, owners, sellers, whatever, collectors, whatever it is. Oh, so yeah, as I was saying, the group, big thanks to Carlos basically growing the participation in the group. The growth has been exponential, and I think as of right now we've got about 62 members, maybe 63 in the group, and that is pretty good for a month. The growth was slow and then suddenly just shot up. I don't know if it's gonna grow any bigger. I'm not sure. It's a public group, so possibly people don't really need to join if they don't want to, but I intend to change that with time. Talking of which, the group is pretty easy to join, just like 1 or 2 questions to get in, and this is not the Wild West. I will let you in, but please give it some effort. I'm doing my best to make sure it's a healthy community, no scammers and things like that. And on the entry questions, there are usually 3 questions, three options on one of the questions. One of them is, do you agree with the group? The other one is, why are you here today? Are you here because you're looking to buy? Are you here because you're looking to sell? Or are you just looking, Are you, maybe you might be an owner, maybe not an owner, but you're just curious about what the market is doing. So you're welcome to join for whatever reason. And I'll tell you, funny as it is, whenever I've looked at those responses, and out of the 63 people that have joined the group right now, only 2 people said that they were there to sell a car. So it's rare to see. It's a pretty rare vehicle to see out on the road, but it's also pretty, well, and maybe as a result of that, the other factors to it, but it's also hard to find some for sale. And I'll break the numbers down in a little more detail, a little, I guess, if I remember, because this is like a vlog that I'm just going off the top of my head. So the greater purpose of the group is to bring buyers and sellers in one place, although it is open to whoever else might want to join the cause or want to look at the group. By the way, we'll be talking about the technology package and all the beeps later. I'm in my lane, but it's out here beeping at me. So I've known about the FXs for a while. Wasn't a very big fan of the first gen, and even then the second gen, I like the Rarity. I like the unique engine that's not used or shared by anyone else. But I've been looking to buy for about, I think passively looking to buy for about 4 years. And in the 4 years, I think, as I said, I'll be talking about this one, why it took me 4 years to buy a single car. If it's something that I've really wanted that much. And as I said, we'll unpack that later, talk about all the different factors that made this the perfect time to get this particular vehicle, right? I'm in my lane. Look at that. It's crazy. You can actually turn it off, but I won't bother with it right now. So generally, when you try to search for these vehicles, being that they were rather low production, pretty exciting, pretty reliable, people don't really want to get rid of them, but nationally you usually find them in the low teens. Historically, that's what it's been. I think there was a point like 2 or 3 years ago I saw about 20 for sale nationally, but that number quickly went down, and sometimes they sit on the market, which makes you wonder what's wrong with these things. They sell like hotcakes. Why is yours still on the market 8 months later? Well, what's wrong with your vehicle? But it's fine, no biggie really. I think right now as we speak, there are probably like 9 available for sale if you checked nationally, but it seems like that's the equilibrium point of these vehicles. Seems like they generally just stay at that point. Oh, roundabout. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put it in sport mode, and we'll put it in DS. Great. And then we'll curve these cars. It handles really well. I guess I should be showing that. Why? Why are you beeping, man? Yield. Alright, so as I was saying, if you check nationally, that is, there's a limit as to how many vehicles you'll see out there. But we do know that not every vehicle that is sold in the United States is sold on CarGurus, AutoTrader, Cars.com. There are other sites that people choose to sell the vehicles through, and one of those, back in the day you had Craigslist, and with Craigslist you could use Auto Tempest to kind of comb through a larger geographical area to see what else is for sale nationally. But Craigslist has its limitations, and sometimes it seems like it's just so much spam out there. You search for an FX50 and you get like dealers listing so many different things that really have nothing to do with an FX50, and I think Craigslist also went, they monetize, so kind of different crowd that you see over there. Despite that, it's fine. It did its part, and I think Craigslist played a huge part in the used car market for a really long time in the United States. So outside of Craigslist. What else is there for free? Facebook. A lot of people are on Facebook, and Facebook gives you some advantages of Facebook is that you can kind of do a quick gauge of whether the seller is real, how long has their profile been alive for, or been, I guess, how long ago they joined Facebook. Try to see what else they sell. Sometimes there's their seller ratings, so there are good things that you can do with Facebook. But similarly to Craigslist, though, Facebook is geographically limited, and that sometimes is an issue. The RPMs are so high, I just don't want to. There you go. Take it out of DS so that I could feel the RPMs just dragging. I mean, it's good for spirited driving, but it was crazy. Where was I? Yeah, so Facebook Marketplace. Much like Craigslist, Facebook has geographical limitations, and there are ways you can get around that. You can search nationally, but what I've been doing since I use Facebook on my phone is go to geographical location, then expand the radius to 100 miles, and just keep looking. But that gets old real quick because the Facebook, I mean, it gets tiring. How are you going to guess what cities usually have Infiniti FX50s for sale, right? And then Facebook also has that kind of give you everything deal that Craigslist kind of did, which was like, oh, you're looking for an FX50? Oh, here's a G35. Oh, here's a Toyota Avalon. Like, man, I did not ask for those at all. Tell me you have nothing. Facebook has this, like, I'm gonna give you an answer. Even I'll give you a response, even if it's got nothing to do with what you asked. So that was kind of the disadvantage, right? So what the purpose of this group was that we know there are other cars out there that are listed not on the national listings. So the purpose is, if I in Indiana see a listing, I share the link on that group. You in Georgia, Florida, wherever you are, Wisconsin, you might have some listings that I've never seen, or maybe you live in a much smaller community and somewhere I never thought of looking, but since most FX50 owners or potential owners are pretty big fans, I think most of us do look him up at a fairly regular basis. If you see something, share it, and then we'll look at it and make a decision as to whether it's worth going. I'll tell you, I drove 1,000 miles to go get this vehicle, and it was worth it. It was a measured gamble, but again, I think my journey towards this vehicle needs a video by itself, and that will be a vlog as well. Anyway, so people are willing to travel. People know that they're and people are willing to travel to get these vehicles. So the point was that if there is something in a different locale than I would have thought of looking, it would be nice to have all these links in one place. And now the other part of it, though, is that if you see something, if you happen to have seen a vehicle, it would be nice to have some reviews, right? So yes, we're willing to fly somewhere and drive it back, but before I get on that flight, before I rent a truck, or before I get a rental vehicle like I did, it would be nice to know something about these vehicles. So if someone listed a vehicle in an area and you've been watching it for a while, and that, man, it's got some sketchy history to it, maybe salvage title, which is not entirely a bad thing in itself, but some people don't like that. It would be good to know what has been done with the vehicle. Was it in a flood? Have you had a chance to go look at it? And what's the reputation of the seller, be it a business, be it an individual? What exactly should I expect before I get on the road to come look at this vehicle, right? So as I said, people are willing to go get them, but the other purpose had been that let's have a site where they're all together, and two, we can help each other, much like a forum, to kind of, I don't want to call it a buyer beware group, but just a way to help each other out, help the community. So with that, I wanted to say that I did offer an option. I told people that if you happen to see one of these things and you want to share your opinions, but being that it's a public group, you don't want your name associated with it, that's fine. Just let me know, send me a message, and I'll put your feedback over there as user submitted content, you know. So that's something else that we're looking at doing. So what is the group going to do for us? I mean, I think it makes sense to most of us. I'm talking about fans. Like, these vehicles are people who do single year upgrades. You have a 2009 and then you're going to buy a 2010 because it's got like the right combination of factors, right color, things like that. You know, it just really depends on what attracted you to something. But in general, this is no Porsche, it's no limited production, and it's pretty funny if you think about it, because this car had 2009 through 2014. We're talking about 6-year production. Yes, they were limited, but man, when you see them selling, it's just crazy how the whole thing works, you know. So, and then, as I said, people who have them for the most part want to hold them, they don't want to sell them. It's, you know, it's fine. So what at some point I thought about this. I was like, should I make this a national? I think when I started the group it was called US, to kind of let people know, but then I thought to myself, well, make it international, right? The FX is an interesting group. As long as when you list your stuff there, just let people know where it is. People in Russia might be curious about the US market. People in Australia, the UK, Canada, you might be interested in importing a vehicle from Canada, or vice versa. So there are reasons that this group makes sense to us. Right now, that is the intention. If it grows into something else, I'm not going to fight it either, right? So, and as I said, there are other forums that touch on FXs. Some of them are kind of crowded, mixed with many different vehicles, and they're not exactly FX50 specific. This one is a for sale, yeah, but if eventually it breaks away and becomes an FX50 only group, hey, that's something, because that's the other thing people do. Like, hey, what are the common issues? What, you know, like, if you have all that in one place, great. No one has to keep asking, right? So I think I'm home now, but before I check out, I wanted to say, so that's the part I was talking about. Like, I'm marketing something, and is it, you know, it's mainly for the good of the community, but is it 100% altruistic? Does it have any elements of self-serving? Yeah, a little bit. I'll be honest, it's got a little bit of that. And the reason is this. People that know me, people that have been watching my videos for a while, know that if I like something, I do it more than once, right? So I have the M56 over there, the other M56 over there, well, the others, and that Q45, I also had one over some time back. Just, they're interesting cars. I kept this one because it's unique, but they're fast, but more for comfort. They're very fast, comfortable vehicles, if that makes sense. So I chose that. I figured that Q45s weren't really my thing to keep. With that being said, I think mostly no. If I were to be given a name associated with a vehicle, I think I'm generally, you know, V8 sedan, Infiniti or Nissan V8 sedan person, Mr. M45, so to say. But I'll tell you, so I bought this high mileage guy because I wanted it to be a tester, and in the 1 month or so that I've had it, I really love it. So I hope you guys can kind of read between the lines and see where I'm going with this. It took me 4 years to get that. When we create a group like the one I've created, I would sure hope that it doesn't take as long to get another FX50. That's all I'm saying about it.